Call the Village of North Fond du Lac Board of Trustees meeting to order Monday, May 6, 2019. Everybody's Audience members are requested to sign in on the sheet provided on the registration table. Citizens wishing to be heard on topics not listed on the agenda may speak under item C. Citizens may be given an opportunity to speak during discussion of items listed on the agenda and are allowed 3 minutes for comments. Disruptive discussion or profanity will not be allowed. Roll call of officers.
Morning.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Streeter.
Here.
Stutz.
Here.
Will.
Here. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Citizens participation. Citizens are to address the board. Only statements are limited to 3 minutes. The board may not respond to items not listed on the agenda. However, you may ask for an item to be placed on future agendas. Seeing there are no citizens tonight. Announcements, communications. I had a few things. The new villager is out, and the police department is out also, right?
Yes.
And that's available same places at the villagers?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Around the community, library is and here, and where else at?
I think both banks, I think at the Butcher's Block, and I think Cornelli.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. North Fondy Fest update. North Fondy Fest this year is on Saturday, June 15th. Again, this year it's going to start in the afternoon after like 4 o'clock. Plan to have a really nice fireworks show. We had a meeting last week wondering if we're going to be able to even pull this off, and a few days later they put it out on Facebook and they had a bunch of people respond. So we appreciate everybody that's stepping up and putting in some money, and the guys put on a heck of a show last year, and they promise that it's going to be as good or better this year. Boogie and Yo-Yos will be playing from 8 till midnight. Cornhole tournament, and we hope to see everybody out there. We're also trying to back in 2009 we got a helicopter from the reserve station. I think it's West Bend. I forget where they're out of, but there's a gentleman in town, Mr. Hamer, that's part of that reserve element, and they're going to try to get the helicopter again this year. So hopefully we won't blow over a porta potty. We won't put you by the fence this year. I know that was one of your concerns, Mike. So that should be like on the West Diamond, and we don't have any softball tournaments going on this year, so that should be pretty cool if we can pull that off.
One quick thing to add is tickets should be for sale within about a week. They should be ready to.
And how much are they again this year?
$10.
And
Grand prize is $3,000, and we'll have them out probably BP and village offices and any committee member.
Great, thank you. This past Monday, Ann Price and I had the opportunity. We went up to Green Bay for some training, and we pronounced that the lawyer's office.
Davis and Kethel.
Yeah, they put on I think it was their 41st training session that they put on. It was open to school district board members, administrators, village administrators, city administrators, village board members. So they covered a lot of stuff. We talked about public records use. One of the interesting things with like iPads now, they suggest using your iPads for communication and not your phone if you can help it, because if they need to investigate something, they may have to confiscate your phone to take a look at it. So they just suggested, pass that along. People use your iPads. They went over like real estate construction contract issues, which was kind of interesting since we're dealing with something like that with the business park right now. They went through some environmental issues, issues with like brownfields, cleanouts and stuff like that, who's responsible. They did some case laws regarding that. Like I said, they talked about like school districts and villages and towns and stuff about hiring, age discrimination cases, municipal responsibility for issues that happen on public property. They talked about, it was interesting, they talked about SRO's responsibilities, which of course is municipality and school districts' concerns also about what their responsibilities are and how they changed. I don't know if Darren, did you know, I don't know how recent it was, but they changed the reasonable search. I guess their, how they can do, they lowered the standards, need to maintain like a search a locker because of the safe school environment, so they changed that, so it isn't as difficult to have to search something if they need to, just for, you know, safety, public safety for the kids, so that was kind of interesting. 10 o'clock this Friday, May 10th at Friendship Learning Center, they're having dedication of the new school edition. So anybody in the community is welcome to attend. And last but not least, I'm plugging the food drive for the letter carriers coming up on this Saturday, May 10th. This year we won't be having bags, so you will be getting a postcard in the mail. So if you could please just, as in the past, you know, put it in a sturdy bag by your mailbox, and the letter carrier or one of us helpers will pick it up, or his or her helpers will pick it up that day.
Something that the post office puts out on Facebook that we could share on our page?
We do not
Okay.
do anything like that. I could have our coordinator contact you and see if, yeah, that's a good question. We got a new coordinator this year. The new guy's taking it over, so he's doing a bang-up job, so I can pass that along. Thanks for the idea. All right, library, Heather.
We're getting ready for our summer reading program, so if you've got the Villager, he's supposed to talk the Villager, and the schedule is in the Villager. So it shows all the activities we have going on this summer, the crafts and the read dogs, and there's something for everybody, all ages. So adults, teens, young children, you can read to your children no matter when, how old they are. So it's important to think everybody can be included. And we'll be doing the class visits starting next week. There'll be visits at the school, and then there'll be visits at our library as well. Some teachers will bring their students right to the library for learning about what we're going to be doing this summer. Universe of Stories, that's the theme. And so the early registration date is right after Memorial Day weekend, when we come back on that Tuesday. That will be early sign up to get started, so everybody can get registered to start participating right away. So I think that is all I have.
And Heather, when do your hours change?
The hours, so it'd be the holiday, obviously that weekend we're closed, and then for the June and July and August until after the next holiday, we're not open on Saturdays, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Administrator Nick.
Thank you. I attended a kickoff meeting last week at the wastewater treatment plant with the city wastewater operator, the public works director, and city engineer, along with our attorney for the OSG, and we're starting at the 20-year agreement that was signed back in 2000 is finally, it's actually does not expire, but it's open for negotiations or discussion. So the way this was set up, it's a perpetual agreement, but after 20 years, it's set up that we are allowed to go in and kind of re-look at it and see if changes need to be made. So it was pretty much signed right before I started with the village. So it's weird to be at that point now. We're at the 20-year agreement. We're also at the end of our 20-year comp plan. There's not a lot of changes proposed in that. The OSG has a few that we'd like to see. The city has a few that they'd like to see. Maybe the most notable thing that we'll be discussing is when that contract was originally set up, there was a replacement, so to speak, fund set up that really isn't being utilized when we exceed our flows. That there's a kind of a benchmark flow that if we exceed it as a district, that there's basically a fine associated with it that we pay to the city. However, we're able to get all that money back and use it to fix the problems. So that really hasn't been utilized, so that's a large discussion point at this point through that process to see if we want to utilize it or not. So I'll keep the board in the loop on that as we move forward. I mentioned I scheduled open book and board review. Open book's on May 16th, 1 to 3 in this room, and board review is on May 30th, 1 to 3 p.m. in this room also. That is on our website, and that went into the paper. We continue to deal with some IT issues now and then. The largest one we're dealing with lately is trying to fix, we're going through an audit right now with, is it DOJ?
CJIS.
CJIS. And Darren could maybe give more details on it, but basically we just need to look at how our data is being transmitted from the police department, fire department, and we need to separate those lines of communication from the general village. So we're working through that. I attended the Destination Lake Winnebago Region meeting on Thursday morning. That's a monthly meeting. They gave a long update on the results of Sturgeon Spectacular and how that, they're bringing a lot of people to this area. Still struggling on maybe keeping people to stay overnight, so they're looking at maybe tweaking it slightly to get people to stay overnight in the hotels. So it was a great update. And also, as was mentioned earlier, the Summer Villager is completed and is available at several locations and online on our website. And also, I was not here last week, so I want to take the opportunity to welcome Ann Price back and Chuck Horning back after a 10-year break. So I wasn't here at the last meeting. I know it was taken care of in the minutes. So
Swore everybody in, right?
we did. We took care of that a couple weeks ago. So
Make sure
they were legal.
Cool.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Police Department, Darren.
Thank you. I'll start out with a quick recap of what Administrator was just talking about. So we're being audited right now by CJIS, the Criminal Justice Information Services. Basically, that's our time system where we get all the information on driving records, criminal records, that kind of stuff. And they have some very strict rules regarding how that information can be accessed and how it can be shared. And unfortunately, through the course of the audit, we discovered that we are a little bit suspect in several areas. The biggest one, as Nick mentioned, being that the way our system is currently set up, we all share one server, and by virtue of all of those lines going into and out of that one server, that means that basically we have weaknesses at every single workstation coming in and going out of there. So we're working with the county and RMM to try to resolve some of those issues, get things a little bit more secure from our standpoint. In the meantime, CJIS has kind of given us some direction as to what we can and can't do until we get that issue taken care of. So it's kind of put us in a little bit of a bind, creating a little bit more work for us as a workaround, but we're going to make it work as long as it takes to get this done, and it's unfortunately not a real quick process. So the good news in all of the county IT stuff is the new MDCs have been ordered. Once they arrive, the county will get those set up for us, then we'll get them installed in our squads. If you recall, several months ago, I had mentioned that by virtue of this switch and going through the county to get these, we're going to end up saving about somewhere between $2,000 and $3,500 this year alone. So in the future, as we move forward, that number should actually increase because we won't have to replace docking stations like we had to this year. Our new squad, the equipment has all been installed. We got notified today. So we'll be reaching out to pick that up and get it back here. Then we'll have to get the decals on it, and it should hit the road, be ready for service. So, and then lastly, for police, fire, EMS, this time of year, the warmer weather usually means an increase in outdoor activities like parties and bonfires, which usually means more drinking, and that all too often means disturbances, and this past weekend was a pretty clear indicator of that. We saw a lot of fight calls and a lot of domestic disturbance calls. So with the warm weather, that means our business picks up. So that's all I have.
Darren, are we rotating the last, was it the last car then?
Yeah, so the last sedan, it's already gone. We traded that in when we took possession of the new car. So the SUV that's being replaced in the marked fleet will become the new unmarked vehicle. So we no longer have any sedans in the fleet. They're all SUVs.
Thank you. Fire, EMS, Public Works, Darren.
Thank you. Just give everyone a quick update on what was happening with FEMA from the August 28th incident that we had. Last week we received a check from FEMA for expenses that we incurred from the storm damage. Check was for a total amount of $4,764.76. With this, it closes out all of the projects submitted to FEMA for this storm event. So I should be done with all of that.
Is that what you submitted for, or did you submit for more?
I submitted 2 projects. One project was for this amount. The other project, they threw out all of our regular time wages, which brought it below the threshold, so the project wasn't qualified anymore. Another update, we've been having some problems with booster pump number 1 in the well station. The pump itself had a bearing hanging up. We had the pump rehabilitated with new bearings, seals, and impeller, and we're still having some issues. We're leaning towards a motor issue with it now, not a VFD issue. I've got an electrician coming tomorrow that we're gonna meg the motor and check that all out. And then lastly, hydrant flushing continues this week. We flush hydrants annually to help clear the system from buildup of deposits, mostly iron in our system. What I would like to do is remind residents when they see water flowing from a hydrant into the street to please refrain from driving your car through it, through the flowing water, and the puddling water, spraying it on pedestrians. So, thank you.
Yeah, see, this year they're putting up cones too, so that's helpful. Thanks, Mayor. Consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the following village board meeting from April 15, 2019, and approve invoices and authorized checks to be drawn on their respective funds as indicated. This is for checks dated April 29, 2019. General fund, $26,454.49. Library fund, $212.14. EMS fund, $731.41. Capital projects, $31,454.50. Water department, $8,848.25. Wastewater department, $44,078.27. Stormwater fund, $654.19 for a grand total of $112,433.25. And this one is for the checks from this week. General fund, $148,386.86. Library fund, $1,254.80. EMS fund, $548.14. Water department, $9,387.23. Wastewater department, $1,028.83. Stormwater fund, $509. Community Development Authority / TIF, $7,565.27 for a grand total of $168,680.13. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
We get a second?
I'll second that motion.
We got a motion by Will, second by Price to approve the consent agenda as read. Are there any questions?
I have just a question.
Yeah.
It's on page 8 of the first PDF, so it's actually page 12 of the PDF or page 8 of the report. So we spent $4,000 on a check valve. I did notice that we had budgeted for, is that the item that we budgeted for? Was it?
Capital budget.
Was it the booster pump valve then?
Yep.
So it came in actually less than what we had budgeted for?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing
I'll
none.
just make a note, there was a question about the Alliant bill. There is every so often, when meters are changed in any of our buildings, the bill comes a little bit later, so it doesn't line up with board meetings, so this month's was like 23,000. That's basically 2 months worth, so it happens every so often, and if you look back, you'll see there's several months, but normally it's 10 to 13,000 a month, otherwise.
And we should get a free one or something too.
Yeah.
A month, I'm saying free one, but it should not show up.
Well, like last month, we didn't have one,
Okay, yeah.
because of that, because of the meter being changed, so, yep.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Administrative, number 1, discussion and possible action on the North Fond du Lac Optimist Club installing a fishing pier on Stormwater Pond near Optimist Park.
Did you want to talk about that, Chuck?
It's up to you.
I mean,
I can.
go ahead.
North Fond du Lac Optimist are proposing to put a pier on the pond just to the south of Optimist Park. On the diagram that's in a packet, it shows that it's a little bit on the east side and down a little ways, and I think they had to go down ways just because on all the stormwater ponds, there's like kind of a shelf, and they need to get down to where the water's a little deeper, and so that's what the proposal is. They're gonna think of extending the granite walkway to the pond And they're made out of aluminum. It's going to have ADA requirements, and I know that people have fished in that pond and have caught fish, so I know there are fish in it. So when we talked about it at the Optimist Club, I didn't know if there's any DNR issues that we have to talk about, or, I wanted to definitely talk to the village board to make sure they were aware of it, and there's any things that they had concerns about, or more or less to get their approval to go ahead with the project.
Did you have any issues?
So, no, we don't have any issues from the village's standpoint. The only thing, we would definitely work with the Optimist Club on location. There's some discussion in the email that was attached about lowering the berm, and obviously they're aware that that is probably not able to happen because of what it's actually doing. It's holding water in. So we would definitely, we'll have Mitch work with them in our public works about just making sure that they don't compromise our pond at the same time. And eventually, obviously, if they put it in, I'm assuming we would take maintenance of it at some point on, from the village staff. So I'm appreciative that they're proposing an aluminum pier. We have those aluminum piers in Prospect Pond. I put those in 2000, I shouldn't say I put them in. I was part of planning those in 2003. And we really, maintenance on them is very, very minimal. We have to re-level them every once in a while. So I'm assuming it would be a similar type of pier. So no, we don't have any issues with it. I know there's been talk about it for quite some time, about looking at this for a couple of years. So I guess I would prefer the village board give approval with, having the Optimist Club work with staff to make sure that staff is approving of it.
Is anybody,
Chuck, you mentioned something about the DNR. Was that checked out, or we don't need to have them checked out or nothing? Did you?
I did. I asked Nick about it.
Yeah.
He didn't think there was. The
No.
village owns the pond. So.
Yep, private pond, private stormwater pond, there's nothing with the DNR. The only possibility is if they would go to when I did those piers at Prospect Park, there was a grant. And through the grant, there was some requirements, but in the case of putting a pier in a private pond, there's no requirements from the DNR.
Next question, how quick do you want to get moving on this?
This summer.
This summer? It's open for everybody, I suppose, yeah, for sure.
Oh, it is,
Yeah,
definitely.
so, okay.
the Optimist stop that?
No.
No, they haven't. I'm not sure how it gets stopped. People.
See, I think the Hayeses lived right there. That was
Did they?
behind the Hayeses house right there, and, so I think they threw a bunch of fish in there and stuff too, so maybe over time, there's fish in there, but I don't know what's in there.
Nice.
There's quite a few fishermen in the Optimist Club, so hard to tell if more fish may show up. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Are there any other questions for Nick or Chuck? All right, get a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to allow the North Pond Optimist Club to install a fishing pier.
I'll second.
We got a motion by Stet, second by Horny, to approve the Optimist Club installing a fishing pier on the stormwater pond near Optimist Park. Is there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Discussion and possible action on appointing the following committee and board members: Steve Hawk, Police and Fire Commission; Jim Scharf, Board of Zoning Appeals; Ann Price for Administrative Rules Appeals Board, and for the Library Board, and for the Board of Review, and Chuck for the Board of Review. Are there any questions or comments? And if you don't want to be on these, I'd glad to ask Randy if you want to be on one of the boards.
sure.
I can, if there's something that you.
Do you want to do the board review?
I could do that.
Yeah.
Would you
Then
check
okay.
on it?
Yeah. Go ahead, you guys can check right now.
Alright. So, we're going to remove Ann from the Board of Review, and we're going to put Randy on there. Alright.
The administrative one only meets infrequently, right?
Have they ever met?
Yeah, we've never met in 10 years I was here.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Very, very, it's,
Who was all on that board? I should look, I just.
it's all on the webpage.
I'll look
I
at
don't
the
know
web,
off
I
the
just
top of
kinda
my
curious.
head,
They meet so often, I should know that.
It's more of a status.
I was
thing.
more focused on who was expired.
I'll put that on my.
Your resume, yeah, it looks really cool. Are there any questions about these appointments? Alrighty. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the appointing of the following committee members on the boards. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Streeter, seconded by Horn to approve the committee board members, appointing committee board members. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Resolutions. Discussion and possible action on Resolution 9-2019, resolution proclaiming National Police Week in the village of North Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. This proclamation is designating May 15th as National Police Officers Memorial Day and observance of National Police Week from May 12th through May 18th in the village of North Fond du Lac. Whereas Police Week's origins began October 1st, 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed Public Law 87-726, designating May 15th of each year as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas in 1994, President William J. Clinton signed Public Law 103-322, directing that the flag of the United States be flown at half-staff on all government buildings on May 15th. And whereas in 1998, Village of North Fond du Lac passed Resolution 27-98, establishing the annual recognition of National Peace Officers Memorial Day and National Police Week as an annual event. And whereas each year during Police Week, communities across the United States hold a memorial service in remembrance of the police officers who have made the supreme sacrifice for the communities. And whereas it is appropriate that we take the time each year to honor our law enforcement professionals, understanding that the police work is inherently dangerous, recognizing that on average more than 55,000 law enforcement officers are assaulted each year, and that one law enforcement officer is killed in the line of duty somewhere in the United States every 58 hours. And whereas the first recorded death in 1971, more than 21,000 U.S. law enforcement officers have made the ultimate sacrifice. And so far in 2019, 35 United States police officers, sheriffs, park rangers, correctional officers, immigration and customs agents, and U.S. Marshals have died in the line of duty. And whereas with deep sadness, the Fond du Lac community will ever feel the loss of Fond du Lac police officer Craig Berkowitz, who was fatally shot on March 20th, 2011, and Wisconsin State Patrol Trooper Trevor Casper, who laid down his life to protect our community on March 24th, 2015. Therefore, the Village of North Fond du Lac President and Board of Trustees do hereby declare May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day in the observance of National Police Week from May 12th through May 18th in the Village of North Fond du Lac. And the observance will include the following: flags are to be flown at half-staff on May 15th. The official flag of the National Law Enforcement Memorial is to be flown at the municipal office all week, and all uniformed police department personnel are to wear a black mourning band across the uniform badge during National Police Week in remembrance of the officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty. Proclaim this day, the 6th day of May 2019, and Craig Berkholz, sorry, pronounced it wrong before. So proclaim the 6th day of May 2019, and we appreciate all the work that law enforcement does. So, Darren, is there festivities this week for down in Fond du Lac, or?
I have not heard Fond du Lac's what they're doing yet. The statewide one down at the Madison Capitol is this Friday. So I have not yet heard what Fond du Lac is planning to do this year.
Okay. All right. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 09-2019.
Can I get a second, please?
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Will, second by Stutz to approve resolution 9-2019, resolution proclaiming National Police Week in the Village of North Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Ordinances.
Do we all sign that one?
Yep.
The question I was talking, is that national peace officer, or is that supposed to be police officers?
Peace. Correct, Darren?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Would make more sense with all the correctional officers and stuff.
All right. Moving on to item I, ordinances. Number 1, discussion and possible action on ordinance 2019-6, an ordinance creating Village of North Fond du Lac Chapter 8.22, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning code. Second reading.
second or seventh.
Oh, yeah.
So what we, I know there was some discussion last week when I wasn't here, so we'll consider that our first reading, because the new language was in there. And mainly that's that language that was kind of highlighted in there for the installation, repair, and replacement of warm air heating, excluding minor work, as defined in section 5. With that, we've talked about this at length. It's a relatively short ordinance, and it's basically just adding that to our ordinance as it wasn't in there.
Are there any questions on this ordinance? I get a motion to approve, please.
I make a motion to approve ordinance O 2019-06.
I'll second.
All right, got a motion by Price, second by Horning to approve ordinance 2019-6, an ordinance creating Village of North Fond du Lac, chapter 8.2T for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Are there any other questions or comments? Can I get a roll call, please?
Horning,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Streeter.
Yes.
Stutz.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
Moving down to communications, I would also like to congratulate Ann winning her first official election after being appointed last year, and welcome Chuck back to the board.
Thanks, Mike.
And on that note, tonight, there is an open house at Frenchie Community Center, and I think, as far as I know, most of us will be attending, so there are no legal issues or anything like that, just, did Nick explain that to you?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, just as long as, you know, we won't be discussing village business or anything like that, we're just over there lending our support to the open house and checking it out. Any other communications? All right, new business. Seeing none, moving down to adjourn, can I have a motion to adjourn? Need a second?
I'll second that motion.
A motion by Stutz, second by Price to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None.